I think we just get cracking. So I was
Caroline's back.
I'm back.
Yay,
I'm back, and I
she's
sound
returned.
dreadful.
She's been poorly.
I've been poorly. That's what you get when you go to Moshe's paradise and then sit on a plane for 2 hours and then stand out in the rain. Yeah, none of these are sensible ideas. But, and also like come to the end of a period of serious burnout.
No,
we
of
knew it
course.
was
Yeah,
coming.
you needed it. You needed the time to reset, I think.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I kind of like my new gravelly voice. I feel like I should talk about conspiracy theories or something. I'm just going to crack on because we've got a very exciting episode coming
We
up.
have.
Welcome back to the Manchester Indie Theatre Podcast, MITPod. You are here with me, Caroline.
And Amelia.
And we have a very special guest today. We've been kind of teasing this episode for a while, kind of dropping little breadcrumbs. Don't play the MITPod drinking game for this one because you will not last. Today we have the wonderful Helen Parry.
Yay!
Finally! She's becoming a myth amongst podcast listeners. So
Yeah, the woman, the myth, the legend.
Yes! Just every guest we've had, almost every guest has had some. It's like the 6 degrees of separation because you're so prolific, Helen, that everyone has got some project that has had you somewhere in the mix or somewhere.
I guess
adjacent.
I've been around a long time.
Well, it's just wonderful, and you just contribute so much to the scene. But before we crack on, because we've got a lot to talk about, I think first of all we should get on with our What's On in Manchester. So make a start, Amelia.
Yep, so What's On in Manchester? The first show we want to give a shout out to is Maria by Simon Stevens and directed by Sadie Mears. So this play will actually be the UK premiere from Manchester writer Simon Stevens, and he takes a long look at social neglect, birth, death and love in this piece. And this is going to be on from the 2nd of September to the 11th of September at 53.2. So just to give you a little synopsis. In the digital 21st century, how does a pregnant 18-year-old find connection, trust and hope? And it's going to be the debut play of Simon Stevens, who is obviously a fantastic playwright.
Fantastic.
So
It's the debut of this piece for him.
Yes,
oh,
of this
wow.
piece, the UK premiere, it says. So, I'm very excited for that. Obviously, for fans of Simon Stevens, I think this will be a really good one to go and see at the start of September.
It's a big deal for Manchester Indie Theatre as well. He's chosen to come to 53.2 and not to maybe one of the bigger, more commercial theatres. It's great.
Yeah. So again, I'll just reiterate, that is Maria by Simon Stevens on at 53.2 from the 2nd of September to the 11th of September.
We also have Iron by Rona Monroe. And this is a gripping play from one of Scotland's most celebrated playwrights, running from the 15th of September to the 19th of September at home. And the synopsis for this is Josie is seeing her mother Faye for the first time in a while. She's never walked into a prison before and she's been putting it off for 15 years. Uncovering the memories they share is going to be more perilous than either of them can imagine. This piece stars real-life mother and daughter Christine Mackey and Lois Mackey. You might recognise Christine from Coronation Street or Downton Abbey, and Lois also from Coronation Street, and pieces by Elysium Theatre. They play Faye and Josie, and this is an award-winning play presented by Best Girl Productions. So just to reiterate, that's the 15th to the 19th of September at home. But that's our What's On in Manchester. Now I think it's time to introduce our very special guest.
Woo! So Helen Parry is an established theatre director and acting tutor with a strong body of work behind her. This includes The Day the World Came to Huddersfield, which was the winner of the Best Drama and the Queer Lit Award for Best LGBTQ+ production, and On Me by our very own Caroline Lamb, which was the winner of the Off West End Award in the Greater Manchester Fringe Festival of 2022. Helen's production of Sacrament by Martin Thomason was also nominated in the Greater Manchester Fringe Festival of 2023. Helen directed the solo show Dear Eliza, which was written and performed by Barbara Diesel, and this won Best Drama at the GM Fringe in 2024. And Helen has worked on a wide range of projects throughout the UK and overseas and continues to be a prolific contributor to the Greater Manchester independent theatre scene. So Helen, welcome to the podcast.
Yes,
we're so excited to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just an absolute pleasure to finally have you on board with the podcast because we've talked about you so much.
It's great fun to be here.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. And we, of course, have worked together on many, many projects.
We have.
And where do we start? I mean, there's a whole load of things we want to ask you.
So much. We've all worked together at one point or another.
Yes, we
as
have.
well,
yes.
We have.
which is great. And I believe we actually met Helen at One Play One Day for the
We
first time,
did.
which we've mentioned a few times on this podcast.
That's a baptism of fire, isn't
Yeah.
it?
It really is. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, yeah, it really is. Well, when we talk about that quite a lot
We
as well,
do.
because that is one of these projects that almost everyone on the fringe scene has done at one point or another. It connects so many people and people of different disciplines. So of course,
Yes.
Helen, you as a director, myself as a writer, Amelia as a writer and actor, we've all between us done all of it. You know?
Yeah,
Mm.
and it was a really great community, which we talked about a lot. But I always had so much respect for the directors as well, because that was the one discipline I never tried in One Play One Day, just because as much as like I think it would be cool to have tried all the different roles out. I mean, directing itself it feels like. Obviously, Helen, you'll be able to give your insight on this, but when it's your vision and you're kind of in charge of the whole play, you're like in charge of all of the actors, and kind of especially in that sort of format where it's, you know, you only have like the script that day.
It's really exciting. I mean,
Step
it is
up.
challenging,
Mhm.
but that's the point, really, isn't it? I think that anybody who's had a go at it has got something massive out of it.
Yes.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. And I think audiences are very accepting of the fact that it is done over 24 hours and they are just always bowled over. But I think a lot of that, obviously it's a joint effort between writer, director and actors, but so much of that on the day is the shaping of it by the director and the guidance of it by the director, because you have to be very careful to corral everyone and make
Yeah.
sure you're managing
And the time that you're involved in. Yes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
how much time you have to explore it and get it on its feet, and
Yeah.
people trying to learn lines in a short space of time as well.
To be fair, like this kind of leads quite well into the first question I'd like to ask you, which is how would you describe your approach as a director? Obviously, with One Play One Day, you would have to do that in a very boiled down, very sort of expedient way. But sort of in general, how do you work as a director? How would you describe it?
That's a huge question.
It is a huge question, yeah.
But I think I'd like to think that I'm a very collaborative director, and I don't come to the first rehearsal with a plan of exactly what is going to happen from day to day to day. So that I think casting the actors is the key to a successful production.
Yeah.
If you get the right people in the first place, it's half the battle.
Mm.
I really enjoy the table work,
Yeah.
which some actors get impatient with. And I don't think younger actors always understand that if you give your attention to that work and you break the play down and you talk in detail about what's happening from scene to scene, then when you do get it on its feet, everything happens much more quickly. And actors are sometimes impatient to stand up and do it. And I'm very much of the school that you sit down and talk about it, so that when you get on your feet, you've created a shared world that you already understand as a company.
Yeah, like your character would understand why another person's character might be speaking to you in this particular way. You know how they would respond then to that, and instead of having to work it out bit by bit, you've got this basis.
And you look up all the words that you don't understand, and you look up all the references within the text and what they mean.
So everyone is very clear on the ins and outs of the piece before they actually stand up and do it.
Absolutely. And then it's an organic process, really, because I always think, well, some actors wait to be told what to do, and I'm always shocked by that. Because, well, make me an offer, because my job is to shape what the actors offer. And only as a last resort, if I'm not getting any offers, do I make suggestions about what somebody might do. But generally, you hope that you're going to get the offers. And you're able to then shape the piece from those offers. And trust that your actors have a range of skills.
Yeah.
Value your actors. They're not puppets that you're moving around or chess pieces. Give them the opportunity to share what they think about what's going on in the rehearsal room.
Absolutely, and I feel like, having worked with you a lot, you have a really sort of curatorial approach to directing, I think. You know, you have this range, like you say, of offers or of suggestions from actors or from technicians, stage managers, everyone, and you kind of, it's brilliant that you're able to kind of bring everything together and create something from that. It's so collaborative, and I think it's a really great skill. It's not a way that I've seen every director that I've worked with work.
I think stage managers are often underrated, because
Hugely.
the stage manager sees everything that's happening in the room and sometimes sees things that you've not noticed because you're looking in one place and they're looking in another. So not to ask them what they think when you've run a scene. And often they'll make practical suggestions about where somebody put a cup down or where a cushion is, or, you know, an exit might be changed. Then they're invaluable, really. And it's like almost like co-directing. And that person can be trusted to run a rehearsal if you're not able to be there for some reason. If you have to go meet lighting or set design or whatever, you can actually trust that stage manager to run a rehearsal.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that a lot of stage managers I know have those core skills that you would need to kind of command a room and to be organised anyway. So they kind of make a great second in command as a director anyway.
Absolutely, yes.
But as well, I think that your approach works really well for new writing. You work on a lot of new writing, don't you? Because you're good at premiering a piece through doing all this table work and drilling deeply into the text. It's a great way of bringing to life a piece of theatre for the very first time. That's certainly what I've noticed.
That's been the bulk of my work in more recent years, really, is new writing. And it's really exciting to be the first person to put that play on the stage, to be trusted by that writer to do it. And some writers like to be in the room all through rehearsals. Other writers like to just come, have a conversation with you, give you the script and disappear till the dress rehearsal. I've had, the extremes of those, really. But also, if there's an issue in the rehearsal and you can say, well, is there something I'm doing wrong as a director that the scene isn't working? And then the second step is to think, well, is the actor not giving something that the scene requires? And third time round, I think, maybe this needs rewriting because neither of us, the actors or the director, can make this work. So maybe the writer needs to look at this a little bit again.
Yeah, and I think as well, working with a director that's so in tune with new writing is really valuable to a writer, because then you get that feedback, you have that back and forth, and the rehearsal process becomes something of a polishing process for the script as well. I mean, obviously the ideal is that it's focused as much on performance as possible, but there's nothing wrong with giving that bit of polish and making sure that the script translates really well to an audience as well.
I think there is sometimes an issue where young writers want to put the play on the stage straight away.
Yes.
And don't go through that developmental stage, so that they haven't had a table reading, they haven't done a workshop, and they want to put it straight in the space. And I go and see things sometimes and I think, that's really promising, but it's not ready.
Yes, I do remember you saying that before, actually, and that's always stayed with me now when I've thought about it, because I think you can be very keen, can't you? When you've written something, you're like, right, I just want to get this up and running now as soon as, which I also do have a lot of respect for. And I think there is a level, obviously, where that is a good thing, and you do have to put something up at some point, otherwise you might play with it forever. But I guess it gets you to really think about the choices you've made if you've written the script, if you really go over it and you've unpacked that properly and you've taken the time to really think about it. I think when you're an actor, whether you're a writer, director, I think you can just be so excited, can't you, to just get it up. You want to get it on, and you want...
That's understandable, isn't it?
Yeah, you want people to be seeing it and to be enjoying that experience and having the energy in the room, but it might not seem, when you're sat at the table looking at it, you might not realise the value of that. But like you say, when you really sit and unpack the script and go through the details and understanding it on another level before you actually perform it.
It depends on what your billet has as well, because if you say, oh, this is a script in hand, we're developing the piece, audience feedback's very welcome, or this is a table read, this is a scratch night, and you can do that as part of the fringe, as long as you acknowledge this isn't a finished piece, we're still developing it.
Yes.
But if you are putting it on as a finished piece and it hasn't been through that development process, it might be missing something.
And that's why new writing nights are so valuable, because, as you say, Helen, you really enjoy working with new writing, but you get to sort of present this new piece that has never been seen by anyone before, and it's giving that writer an idea of, oh, okay, that's an interesting way. I would have, having that actually put on, even when the script is still in development, they might be getting a lot of ideas about what they can then do with that script from seeing that presented off the bat, and what they can work on and take away from it. You know,
I think that's true. And also, a thing I do sometimes in the very early read through is to have the actors read somebody else's part, not their own.
I love that.
Then they really listen to their own part being read by somebody else, and sometimes it throws up different ways of doing it than they thought about, but it also does make them listen to their role, because they're not speaking it, somebody else is speaking it.
I only heard you say that like a couple of weeks ago, and I thought, that's genius.
Yeah. I remember we were both there when you said it. We were like, that is a gem right there.
I'm going to keep that. I mean, I could never direct. It's not in me. But I will remember that as a piece of directorial advice, or even just like an acting exercise advice forever. It's so good.
Yeah.
Because I remember you giving me that advice as well, of like, when you've written your own show, it's actually, have you ever heard someone else do it? Because you've only ever known it in your voice and you presenting it. But actually, that would have been really interesting to see how someone else would have performed that, and I might have come away with completely different ideas about that script. So it's always a good exercise.
Yes, and I think Barbara Diesel and I talked about that. What would she do if somebody else wanted to play play her part.
Yeah, and Dear Eliza, yeah.
Because she's written it, she's performed in it, she's produced it, and to let it go, it's your baby, isn't it?
Yeah,
in a way?
yeah.
So to let it go is quite tough. But if somebody said, I'd like to put this play on, but I want to be in it, you know.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, and it's so personal to her as well. So that would be a real challenge. But speaking of Barbara and all the other sort of new writing creators that you've worked with, what attracts you to a project in the first place? Like if someone sends you a script, what makes you go, I want to work on this?
I think it is the quality of the writing. I mean, to use Barbara as an example again, I first met her at the end of Greater Manchester Play Festival, and I hadn't seen her play the first year she put it on. But we got talking at the party, and I said, it sounds really interesting, can I read it? And she sent me the copy, and we agreed to meet for coffee, and I think we were there for 2.5 hours, because I went through it and gave her all this feedback about, I thought it was so exciting, the potential of it was so exciting, but it was only 30 minutes long. And then she said that she would do some work on it, brought it back, and it was by then an hour long. And then she asked me to direct it, which was wonderful, a wonderful collaboration.
Yeah, it was great to watch, and it didn't feel like an hour. And sometimes I feel like with one person shows, you feel like there must be a limit to what can be done in the amount of time that you can spend just watching one person doing their thing. And it's amazing how well the time was filled, how varied it was, and it was really
Barbara's
great piece.
such an impressive person.
She
I think
is.
we can say,
Great
like when
performer
she
as well.
was on our podcast and the way she spoke about the work and you know, where it's now going into like education settings as well. And
yes, it's in its next stage now. We're going to do, to an invited audience, a performance at Bolton Opticon Studio in the hope of then selling it to universities and similar courses as part of a training for staff.
Yeah, and it's great that you're staying with the project as it goes through its various iterations. You know, you're kind of
I'm
watching
very
it grow.
honoured to be still on board, you know. So
You were obviously a key part of its becoming what it is, you know, being expanded and extended. And so
I think
it's
the
great.
first time she performed it, she told me that she simply stood and said it, really. And I was thinking, well, in an hour, we need to make this a physical piece, because you need something to look at as well as to listen to.
Precisely.
And it grew out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that the concept is always quite an attraction as well, like the fact that Barbara sold it to you quite well. But then when you got to read it, that was when you really thought,
this is terrific, really. I didn't realise what a good actor she was going to turn out to be.
Yes, she's fabulous.
Because I was a bit nervous then about somebody performing their own work, and you think maybe somebody else would be better doing it. But in the first 10 minutes of the rehearsal, I thought, she's going to be wonderful.
It is a really, really great project, and again with our work on me, that's come back again and again and again. And I've always kind of worked with you, and it feels like there are certain projects that it carries you along with them in a way.
Absolutely,
it's good fun.
You grow with the writer, and you grow with the performers, and if you can get funding and take it further, well, it's just brilliant, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I noted definitely from our experience when we did the short play as part of One Play One Days, the best of night.
Was that hen party?
Yes, like the hen party. I think it was hen, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I loved that piece. I think we all really enjoyed it.
It was so daft, but we all loved it.
I loved watching it. I remember it was fabulous.
It was so much fun. Yeah, absolutely loved the girls that I worked with. They were just brilliant. Everyone was fab. I remember when we were rehearsing, you were really good at really pushing us to get the most out of us, because I think sometimes when you go into a rehearsal, you think you're giving a lot, you think you're giving everything, but actually there might be that bit of you that's holding back. And I think you were really like good at pushing, because I know that there were times where you're like, it needs to be bigger, Amelia, it needs to be bigger. And I remember like on the night when I did it, I was literally spitting on the stage. I was like, I really hope that I'm like it. And I'm really glad that you did tell me that, because I think that it got something out of me that I didn't even realise. Like maybe I didn't realise how much I was holding back. And then I just fully let myself be completely
immersed. And then you
immersed.
were very funny. I think you're naturally comedic.
Yes.
But it's sometimes having the confidence, isn't it?
It is the confidence
I think
thing.
because I trained as an actor originally, but didn't really want to be an actor by the time I got to the end of the 3 years. I'm so much more aware of what I'm making the actor do, what I'm trying to encourage the actor to do. And if I hadn't had that actor training, I perhaps wouldn't be so conscious of the vulnerability of the performer in the room as I am now.
Yeah.
We've said before that I reckon, and I think a lot of our guests also said that a good director, I think, should have a foundation in acting, because then they know what they're asking of the people on the stage.
Absolutely, yes.
And you're case in point with that, definitely.
Yes, and then unlocking the potential of what you see that person, that they're a little bit frightened to actually push the boat out, and if you just do that encouraging and sometimes a little bit of a shove, and they get there.
or the patented Parry glare. that works.
That was my question, really, was that I guess as a director you can recognise that, I think, in the actors that you're working with, and that's such a good quality to be able to see in them, that I think you can give more to this. And when you are in that position, do you feel like you have to build that bond with that actor as well, I guess, to bring it out? And I think, do you feel like very comfortable with that? Do you feel like it's very important to set up that kind of relationship where everyone feels safe, because then you can get the best out of that actor?
I think that table work and getting the company to, again, going back to that, to create the world of the play together, it's an even playing field, isn't it? And also recognising that some people benefit from you being a bit tougher with them, and other people need you to be a bit softer and a bit more coaxing. So it's trying to assess what that actor can handle in order to get the best out of them.
Yeah. It takes such interpersonal skill. You don't just have to be, I mean, obviously you need to be a creative powerhouse in many respects, but you also need to read people very well.
You need to be a people person, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah. You were saying that you trained as an actor originally. What drew you to working in the creative industries initially? What was the first pull?
Well, when I was a child, my mother was quite well spoken, and the town we were living in, Wrexham, which is now famous for the football team, of course. Nobody ever knew where I came from when I used to say Wrexham until recent years. My mother was so frightened that we'd end up with a Wrexham accent, because it's quite strong, sort of mixture of Welsh and Liverpudlian, if you can imagine. So she sent my brother and I to elocution lessons, and the teacher was this lady called Miss Godwin, was a very Edwardian sort of lady, the little cameo brooch, and but she was absolutely wonderful. And what she gave us to do was poetry or monologues to prepare as homework, and come back the next Saturday morning to share them and give feedback. My dad also was a singer, and he bought this book, The Book of 1,000 Poems, which he used to read to us at bedtime, and he'd act them out. And my mum had once played Titania in school when she was 13 or 14. And I remember when we were kids, she'd be on the landing in a red flannel nightdress playing Titania.
Oh, wow.
And we'd be hanging on the end of our beds, all three of us, going, oh, this is wonderful.
That's so lovely. So it was a very kind of creative household.
Yes.
That's gorgeous.
Yes. So you were inspired from quite a young age by your parents. And
I didn't know what going to drama school meant. But I knew that something in that was what I was attracted to. And also going to a neighbour's garden where they'd put curtains over the washing line and put all the kitchen chairs out and did a little cabaret. And I must have been about 6 or something. Oh. And I was like, oh, this is magic.
That's so interesting, actually, because that put me in mind of Grasshopper King, you know, almost. I mean, we were maybe slightly older than 6, but we've referenced this with Barbara, that we, a friend of Helen's, we surprised her by performing a play that she wrote when she was about 12 or 13. Yes. Yeah. And you kind of snuck us in, and it was great. You directed this wacky little play. It was brilliant.
It was funny.
But that made me think of that.
Yeah, very similar, I guess. Very similar.
And what a wonderful start to your creative career, just it being kind of taught to you from a young age, just as part of your family life.
And then when I used to babysit other people's kids to keep them entertained, I would make little plays with them. Oh. Which I realised now was probably me directing, wasn't it?
Yes.
But I didn't know there was such a job as directing, so...
It's inbuilt through your formative years.
Yeah, it was always there, kind of within you. You were creating plays from such a young age. You already had that mindset of, this is what I want to do with my life.
Going to drama school, because there wasn't drama on the curriculum in the school I went to. There was a drama club when I was in the 6th form, but most people in my school, they either went to university to do serious degrees, or they went into nursing or to the civil service. And when I said I wanted to go to drama school in this girls' grammar school, people were a bit sniffy about it, really. And I think my parents only let me go because they had no idea what drama school was.
Oh, fair enough.
I think they'd have let me go if they'd have known. But of course, day one, I found my tribe. I found this, group of people who thought the same as I did and just loved to be involved in that kind of work.
I feel like that's tale as old as time, really, in terms of creative people. Like the moment, like when I finally allowed myself to venture into the fringe scene, I was like, oh, everyone here likes what I like, and I like them, and they like me.
And it's such a joy, isn't it?
It's wonderful.
We're a strange kettle of fish, aren't we, really? But I feel like that's something that we we can just connect over is that I think that it is not the norm of kind of wanting to put yourself out there, or
And it is the
create...
child in you.
Yeah,
it
it's
appeals to.
embracing that inner child and that playfulness. And I just think when you're meeting other creatives, everyone seems to have that same childlike kind of fascination with people and with
the energy and excitement in a room with a group of people when you're all trying to create something.
Yeah, and I think there's an element of acceptance as well, where we all know that each of us has something a little bit odd in us, otherwise we wouldn't be here, and that's kind of what we all love about each other.
Yeah,
and permission to fail in a rehearsal room is really important, isn't it? That
absolutely.
You can try something and it doesn't work. You think, okay, well, come at it from a different angle, have another go at it.
But that only works if you feel supported by the people around you.
Absolutely.
Yes. And finding your tribe is finding a chance to fail and to be supported in that. And to learn.
Maybe fail isn't quite the right word, is it? But to be experimental.
Yeah, and feeling safe to do that and to really express.
And discarding it, even if you spent a day on it.
Yeah.
I think, do you know what? I don't think this is going to work. Let's spin it. And start again.
That's still part of the learning, isn't it?
It is. It is. It's that playfulness and that openness. And I think sometimes it can feel uncomfortable sometimes to really let yourself be silly and go into that playful energy, because you can be trained out of that, can't you? No, I can't do that. Like that's embarrassing. Like I don't. But I think in any sort of group that I've experienced, like we've talked about National Youth Theatre and the kind of exercises we did with that, you know, you would be really encouraged to be silly and to play and to put yourself out there, and no one was judging anyone. Like it was a safe space, and that is what it's supposed to be. Like when you're with these creatives, you're supposed to be supportive of each other, to try stuff, whether it works, whether it doesn't work. It's about giving it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about experimenting, being silly, being unusual, having new experiences, considering the massive back catalogue you have, what are some of the more unusual experiences you think you've had throughout your career to date?
Well, when you sent me this question, I thought there's three that came to mind straight away. One was I was working for a company based in Skipton.
Oh, yeah.
Run by an actor called Tom Aldersley, who now I think teaches at the Leeds Conservatoire. But he had his own theatre company called Sheeptown Theatre Company, and they were going to put a play on at the Mart Theatre. And I was asked to go over and have a look at the space and see what we could do, because it was a play, I think that one was written by him. But when I got there, what I hadn't realised was that the Mart is actually a market.
It's like an auction mart, isn't it?
And it was Turkey Day. It was just before Christmas. And so the place was full of farmers and live turkeys. And I'm completely gobsmacked, and I'm kind of being shown round, and this is the lighting, these are the exits and entrances, and I can't concentrate because people are bidding for turkeys, and maybe I should have bid in and get my turkey while I'm here.
Yeah. Two birds with one stone, almost literally. That's so funny.
And that idea that when the market is finished, everything's just sluiced down.
God.
And it becomes a theatre, and the scene was quite medieval in a way. People with shepherd's crooks and old caps, and it was quite extraordinary. I can see that picture and probably the shock on my face so vividly.
The situations we get ourselves into as creatives is just ridiculous, isn't it?
If he'd said to me live markets are held in there, I perhaps wouldn't have gone. I don't know. I would have been a bit like, what? But it was magic.
What an experience. That's so funny. And I mean, you mentioned something about having to look after a goat at one point as well at a different project.
Yes. I was working for Ed Berman's Interaction Theatre Company in Milton Keynes.
Yeah. And
we were all staying in the old rectory, and everybody gone out for the night. And I hadn't gone because I had my child with me, she was only little. And there was this billy goat in the yard that had to be put into a stable at night. So I put Manon to bed and I went out in fear and trepidation because this thing was a beast.
Oh, God.
And that's so funny that they're like, oh, we'll leave you to it. Just
Helen versus the goat.
Helen versus the goat. I was terrified. I did get I won't say the word, I did get it into the stable in the end, but oh my God, it took me days to get over the experience.
I can't imagine my host being like, oh, if you wouldn't mind, just stick the goat away.
In. As if it was really easy, and of course it wasn't, because the goat didn't want to go in. So
it's on your list of responsibilities. I don't remember this when I applied for this job.
Accommodation, just has to deal with goat.
Nothing in drama school training about getting goats in.
Yeah, that's a good point. They should teach about random situations you might end up in. Give you some basic animal husbandry training.
The other thing that came to mind was when I was teaching at Arden. It was the 300th anniversary of the dukedom of the Duke of Devonshire from Chatsworth House. And I was asked if the students would like to get involved in this project, which was going to be a performance of the history of the Dukes.
Yeah.
So they had professional actors in the key roles, and then the Arden actors were the next layer down. And after that, they were using local amateur drama, local schools, and so on. But it was a magnificent setting because the audience was sitting on one side of the river, and the performance was the other side of the river with the house in the background.
Oh, wow.
And it was a bit of a nightmare to organise.
Yeah.
We were going every day on a coach with all the students, and I was responsible for sections of it. There was an overall director, of course. But again, that was a mammoth experience, both for the students and for me, to do that.
Gosh, yeah, visually it must have been incredible as
It
well.
was beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And fireworks on the last night.
Oh, my goodness.
And the Duke made a speech about what it meant to him to see his family history told in this way. It's a one-off thing, isn't it? You never get to do that again.
No,
Yeah.
that's very exciting. And then I know as well, because we've been talking about sort of the experiences you've had, and I know that being part of modern history in terms of like, I know that you had a piece of work on during the Toxteth riots,
Yes.
which
yes.
was unusual on the other end of the spectrum, in that this was a kind of seminal moment in race relations in the UK, and you found yourself a bit in the middle of it, didn't you?
Yes, I was working with an actor called Brian Morgan, who unfortunately has died since then. And he was a student at Abraham Moss when I was teaching theatre there. And he formed his company called One Step Theatre Company.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing a play called Rock and Roll Jordan, which was around the story of the Windrush and that period of time. And we were taking it on tour. One of the places was Toxteth in Liverpool, but it happened to be, I think, probably at the beginning of the riots.
Yeah.
And so when we got into the city, there was a lot of people, very angry people on the streets. And we were sitting in the car going down to the venue. I can't even remember where the venue was now. But they were stopping, the vigilantes or protesters were stopping each car and questioning where you were going and why you were there. And the other three people in the car with me were black anyway. That was their theatre company. And we wound the window down and this guy asked what we were doing. But when they knew it was a play and what the play was about, it just waved us through. It was fantastic.
Gosh, must have
But
been.
it was a bit frightening because there was clearly such anger in the city about what had been going on.
Yeah, it must have been absolutely wild to be in the centre of that.
Quite an experience, yes.
I bet. But you've done a lot of work with theatre companies that are black-led, theatre companies that are LGBTQIA-led, what might be considered sort of alternative to the traditional, very sort of middle-class white theatre of yesteryear.
Well,
which
we used
is really
to
wonderful.
work out of the Green Room Theatre, which was a very fantastic variety of work that went on there. I think it's so sad that theatre closed. It's now a bar and a club, I think, isn't it? But the Green Room was a great space for young writers and new actors, and with a company called Black Arts Development. Brian Morgan was also in that play. We did A Raisin in the Sun.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Lorraine Hansberry.
And then we did Fences at the Dance House years before Lenny Henry did it. I think I looked it up, and there's no mention of that production.
Really?
When I googled it, and Lenny Henry is down as the first person to have done it in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, I did it.
Yeah. Yeah, Lenny.
Several years before.
Stop claiming Helen Flower's
crown.
I think it might have been an A-level set text, and that's why we were doing it.
Yeah.
And we did it at the Dance House.
It's still like heavily taught on at least university curriculums.
It's coming into home, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Autumn, I think.
Oh,
is it
exciting. I'll have to
really?
look out for
Oh,
it. It's a fantastic piece.
Yeah,
So those
have
were
to give
the
it a
two
shout out.
kind of published black plays, but a lot of the work I did with Black Arts Development was new work. And they commissioned a play from a white writer, Michael Harvey, who's died recently. And he wrote a play called Black Love about a gay-black relationship. And at first he didn't want to accept the commission because he was white and he didn't feel, though he was a gay man, he didn't feel he could do justice to the topic. And Black Arts Development said, Andy Burke, who was the leader of the company, no, you write the play you think you should write, and we'll help with the language. If we feel the language isn't appropriate for the characters, we'll help with that.
That's wonderful.
And we had about a year, we had a lot of developmental time because he wrote random scenes, not in any particular order. And then we workshopped those scenes and where they were best placed. And then he went away and wrote the full draft. And we performed it at the Green Room. And the queue was miles down the road. Nearly all a black audience. And Chris Honer came from the Library Theatre to see it.
Yeah.
And he said to me, we don't have this audience in the library theatre. I don't know where this audience is coming from.
Yeah.
And he invited us in to perform it at the library theatre, which we did. And then it went on a little tour as well.
That's wonderful. And the library theatre is no more as well now, which
That's
is
another side.
isn't
loss.
it? Yeah. But that's such a great achievement. Was this in the 90s that you did this?
I think it was the 80s.
The 80s, because I feel like that was a really great...
The early 90s probably, yes.
The really great era of collaborative, devised almost work that ends up being kind of pieced together through a group of actors and creatives, and I'd love to bring that back. I feel like that extended development period is so wonderful.
I think what has been lost too is, I think you asked a question about how things have changed.
Yes, I was going to get to that, but we can move on to that now, because that's a perfect segue.
And I think one of the things is that virtually every pub had an empty room upstairs that you could have for free to rehearse in, and all you had to do was buy a drink in the bar when you finished.
Mm-hmm.
But those spaces are gone really, because pubs have become much more commercialised places, and they often have little restaurants upstairs, or they now charge a lot of money for you to use that space. But you could get rehearsal space really easily.
Yeah. It's, I think, especially in cities like Manchester, where they know the art scene is really strong, there is that appeal of, oh, well, we could monetise this. We're going to be in demand. We could monetise it. It's always about pushing the profit margins up.
Well, when we went to the Seven Oaks pub, they'd never had theatre work in there, had they? That room upstairs.
No, as far as I'm aware, it's for the Fringe.
Had they not? Because I do remember coming to see one of your plays. I think it was written by Martin Thomason.
That was Sacrament, yeah.
Sacrament. Yes, it was Sacrament, yeah. And I absolutely loved that piece. And that room at the top of the pub as well, it was such a nice, intimate space. And as an audience member, I really enjoyed that. So was that the first time?
I think
then?
I was the first person to put a play on in there.
Really?
I think lots of plays have done there now.
On Me was before that, but that was still you, yeah.
And I did the play about John Lennon there as well.
You did?
And we were really well looked after by the lovely staff
there.
But I think their costs have gone up.
I understand in a way why their prices have gone up, because they've realised what an appealing space it is, and they've decked it out a little bit now. They've got sort of the blacks at the back, and they've got lighting a bit more, they've got sound a bit more.
I can see why it's a good space for theatre as well, because it is a very characterful place.
Yes.
And
it's easy
it's
to
very
get to.
authentically Manchester, and it just feels like a good space. Like
Yeah.
you can, for fringe theatre and for new writing, for new
And
pieces.
it's right by the tram stop, the Piccadilly bus station just up the road. So easy to get to once you know where it is.
Really central. Yeah, really good. And to be fair, like another throwback to another episode, Lisa Connor is doing a fantastic job of running the Fringe, and part of what she's doing is that she's going and knocking on doors and saying, "You've got space, can we use it?"
Yeah,
and it needs to
so
be
it's
done.
opening up even more Manchester spaces that haven't been traditionally used for theatre. It's now becoming
And Lisa
more
was
a
an
thing.
Arden student.
Of course. You did teach at the Arden at the same time as Wiley Longmore's time there, didn't you?
I was really lucky to have had 10 years with Wiley as the head of school. And when I knew the school was being opened, it was in Northenden when it was first opened at the FE College in Northenden. And I was teaching on BTEC courses and A-level theatre studies. And I went to see Wiley and said, I'd really be interested in working this theatre school. So he gave me a project, and I did that project, and must have been okay. Then he gave me a second project, and I did that project. And then by that time, the school had been open a year. So there was a woman called Tina Earle, who was the head of first year, and Wiley was head of school. So now they were going to have a second year, because those first years were moving up, new group coming in. So there was a job of head of second year going.
Yeah.
And I thought, I really want this job. And I applied for it and got it.
Yeah.
And the rest, as they say, is history. And I was there, I think I was there 18 years altogether, but 10 years with Wiley, and I learnt so much from that man. He was such a great leader.
Well, people obviously look back to his time there, and generally in the theatre scene as with great sort of reverence and great love.
And his passion. And going back to that idea about what's changed, I think what's changed too is that the craft of acting, which he talked about so powerfully, and which we were all encouraged to think of our actor training as teaching a craft, I think that has gone, really.
Yeah.
And I think people are now just wanting to be famous and want to be on TV, not so much thinking about, what am I doing and why do I want to do it?
It's potentially the influencer influence, isn't it? Where nowadays you could, if you strike lucky, get famous overnight, and it doesn't necessarily require craft or study. It just requires being visible and hitting the right
and
trend.
It's the quick fix, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not valuing thinking about the work and developing the work. Sometimes I think I'd like to go to stripped back theatre where you don't have any technical stuff at all and you just have the performers in the room.
I love that as well.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly so enjoy a piece where it is minimal tech, minimal prop. It's just two people and it's led by their performance. It's very dialogue heavy. It's a two-handers where it's on the character's relationship. It's about the writing. It's about the performance. And I just love that. I really enjoy that. And that's not to say I don't. I also enjoy kind of theatre in so many different varieties.
Yeah, and there's a place for both. You know, there's the Palace Theatre or the Opera House, and to go see a major production is fantastic, isn't it? With all singing, all dancing technically, but also just a simple piece, as you said, of two people in a room and a group of people sharing it.
You can connect so much to that, especially like the intimacy and vulnerability of just having that. It is just feels like it's just you and the performers. And there's not really any barriers. There's not any sort of glam and glitz that separate you.
Being close to the performers where you can see the spit.
Yeah, exactly. Even being lucky enough to be hit by it.
You can't watch Amelia's next play. She gets really into it.
And that shows the actors are articulating properly.
Absolutely.
When you see the spit.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I've worked in about, when I did Fences, we had a set designer, a sound designer, a lighting designer. Everything that could contribute to that production was there. But then I've done other things, like in 53-2 when it first opened, when they didn't have as much equipment as they have now, and in pub rooms as well.
Of course.
With little or nothing to actually add to the production.
We've also done work overseas as well as in the UK. You worked in Denmark, haven't you? Worked in the US. So I would love to hear, how you ended up working in these different overseas locations as well.
Well, when I was working at Arden, Wiley was very encouraging that all the staff who worked there had to be practitioners as well.
Yeah.
That they weren't just locked into a teaching career, but they had to be out there doing their own work. And we did an exchange with a writer from Florida.
Wonderful, yeah.
Who came and worked in the school. And I went then to work in his college in Florida. I was there for 3 months. And I was teaching in a community college, Brevard Community College. But we also put one of his plays on in a museum in that town, in Melbourne, I think the town was called. And that was a very strange experience because the students in the class were from all sorts of levels, really. There were people from the local school who wanted to do a qualification, people from the RAF base, people in nursing, all doing all sorts of other jobs who'd come to get this English qualification. And the first day I was in the classroom, most of people were asleep with their heads on the desk. And I was a bit taken aback, as you would be.
Yeah.
So I went to the staff room and said, I'm a bit concerned that everybody's asleep. I thought it was a bit more dynamic than that. And of course, they all had jobs elsewhere. And the tutor said, oh, don't worry, just mark them present. And apparently, as long as they handed a paper in at the end of the 12 weeks or whatever, they would get their grade.
That's wild. They're having to be spread so thin just to make ends meet. It's dreadful, but also it's fantastic that they put themselves forward to learn more and to get into the creative side of things.
And it was an eye-opener to me, really. And I felt a bit sad for them because some of those people were clearly exhausted but turned in to get that mark. And
God, that's amazing.
They just kept showing up, and even when their bodies were giving up.
Absolutely. All credit to them. And then I ended up in Denmark because Ian Burns, who runs that theatre company in Copenhagen, had been a student of mine in an FE college years ago in Luton. And I coached him to get into drama school, and he went to the drama school I went to, which was MMU, Manchester Polytechnic, as it was when I went there. And he eventually ended up in Denmark and running an English-speaking theatre company. And we'd always kept in touch. And I think it was the 25th anniversary of this theatre company. And he said it would be like closing the circle if I came and directed a play for him.
Oh, that's wonderful, yeah.
And that's how I ended up in Copenhagen. And I did Look Back in Anger, which I'd just done in England with Adam Griffiths and his company. And the students in the colleges in Denmark and the schools were all learning English, so it was a big thing for them to come and see an English play. And then I was invited back the following year to do Carol Churchill's A Number.
Oh, fantastic, yeah.
And I was invited back the following year to do a new play, but Then COVID hit.
Oh.
Didn't get there the third time.
No.
Oh,
But I mean, I
gosh.
think you've mentioned Look Back in Anger before, and the fact that culturally the references were so different between Denmark and the UK, at least to do with the set design and things like that.
Yes,
Like, it's
yes.
how exciting to be.
The set design for Look Back in Anger, I just recreated my bed sitting room when I was at college,
Yeah.
which was in one of these old Victorian houses
Yeah.
with all Victorian furniture, you know, an old wardrobe, table and chairs,
Brilliant.
everything from the 1930s and 40s, really.
Yeah.
Because that's what we lived in as students. When my mother saw the bedsitter I was going to go into my first year at drama school, she cried on the way home.
Oh
Apparently.
no.
To me, it was really exciting.
Yeah, room of your own.
Yeah.
Here, I've got my own room, and you know, but she was really upset by the state of it.
I can sit and make my art and be
Yes.
like a classic brooding artist
Yeah.
sat in
The
this little
garage.
room.
Yeah, artist garage.
Staring at the rain as it falls on the window.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. But yeah, it must have been for the people of Denmark to sort of, apparently you told me that they were quite amazed by it, the design.
Yes, they were. They had a sudden insight into, I don't know whether they thought England was still like that or they realised, you know, the era of the play. But yes, they were quite taken aback by that. Whereas when we did a number, it was very stripped back.
Yes.
But Ian took me to this fantastic warehouse, which is just full of theatre furniture and props. So we could choose anything we wanted. It was just all
Glorious.
available. I think it belonged to a television company.
Oh,
But it's an Aladdin's cave to go into.
those places for me are just heaven, honestly. You'd have to drag me away at the end.
Yeah.
You have to give me an
So
allotted time.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you get so carried away. Oh, we could use it. We could use
Yeah.
that. Oh, I've just seen that.
And it's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this play now, but
It's a
could-
later on.
creative
I know
stream,
what-
isn't it?
Yeah.
Inspiration just
Yes.
everywhere. So
Yeah.
many different ideas just coming out from seeing these different things. And
I have to watch myself in a charity shop because I'm like, oh, I wasn't going to put that play on, but now I've seen this piece of furniture, I need to put that play on.
Yeah, you put
Yeah.
the whole production around a piece of furniture.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, at this point, I think we need to quickly recap our What's On in Manchester.
So the first show and giving a shout out on What's On in Manchester this week is Maria by Simon Stevens and directed by Sadie Mears, which will be on at 53.2 from the 2nd of September to the 11th of September. And this is the UK premiere from Simon Stevens, and this play takes a long look at social neglect, birth, death and love. And it will be exploring in the digital 21st century about a pregnant 18-year-old who is looking for connection, trust and hope. So that is again Maria on the 2nd of September to the 11th of September at 53.2.
And then we also have Iron by Rona Munro. This is on from the 15th of September to the 19th of September at home. And it's about Josie, who is seeing her mother Faye for the first time in a while. And she's never walked into a prison before. She's been putting it off for 15 years. It's about uncovering the memories they share, which turns out to be more perilous than either of them can imagine. That's starring Christine Mackie and Lois Mackie. And again, that's the 15th of September to the 19th of September at home. So two very exciting pieces of theatre coming up. But it's time to kind of bring everything to a close. I suppose the thing we tend to ask our guests before we finish is just if there's any one piece of advice or suggestion or thought that you want to pass on to creatives, not necessarily prospective directors, but anyone who wants to work in the creative industries, like something that you live by maybe that you would want other people to know who are interested in being a creative.
I think acknowledging how hard you have to work to achieve what you want to achieve. And I meet a lot of young people who don't want to put that work in, don't have that work ethic. I was talking to George Costigan over the weekend, who's a well-known actor, just done the play with Matthew Kelly at Bolton Octagon.
Waiting for Godot,
Waiting for
yeah,
Godot.
fantastic.
And he was saying he's shocked sometimes in rehearsals with younger actors who don't know their lines, who have a day off because they've got a headache.
Yeah.
And that's much more common than you would think. So I think if you're going to go into this world, whatever level you're working at and whatever art you're practicing, to face up to how hard that's going to be.
Yeah, that's really great. And we've been very lucky on the podcast that the younger actors and the younger creatives we've had in seem to go above and beyond. Like the amount of work they do is wonderful. But I certainly don't doubt that for every few of those types of fantastic hard workers, there will be people that aren't willing to put that effort in.
Yeah, they like the idea of the
they like the
creative
idea
world,
of it,
but
but
it's the actual investment and the cost of it, you know, like in terms of what the time that you need to put
and the
in
sacrifices you make
the
to be a
sacrifices.
performer, because it's you know, it's not highly paid for the most part.
No,
Yeah,
certainly not.
we have discussed that a lot. You know, the lengths people go to be able to put their work on. You know, it's difficult to strike that balance.
I
and
think
to find
Andy
that.
Burke, unbeknown to his partner, actually put his house online
Oh God.
to raise the money to do it. I mean, fortunately, he didn't have to sell his house at the end of it, but I think he actually went that far.
Oh my goodness, yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's our priorities are very, very different to the priorities of someone maybe who isn't a creative. But I think the proof is in the pudding as well, in terms of it's not always the case, and sometimes it can feel a bit disheartening when the amount of work you put in for very little gain can sometimes hit hard. But the proof, especially for younger actors, is definitely in the pudding, in that if you work hard, show your commitment,
And you believe in yourself, and
Yeah.
you believe in what you're doing,
and you believe in the project, and you support the project with all of your time and effort and energy, you tend to reap the rewards far more than someone who isn't willing to put that work in.
And also keep your skills going, because I noticed when I worked in America, they still go to classes.
Yeah.
All those actors go to classes, which I don't think our actors are so good at doing.
Yeah, I think
And I
one
know
of the
you've got to
issues is
pay for
expense,
classes, but even just to practice your art by meeting as a group to read plays.
it's like people say it's like going to the gym for actors.
Yes.
You know, 'cause you're constantly working that muscle every week. And I've absolutely loved my experiences in classes, and I've been at various different classes in Manchester. But I think, if anything, whatever your ultimate goal, you know, whether it's to actually have a career in acting or it's to build your confidence or whatever your reasoning, it's such a valuable experience if you're able
Absolutely.
to do it, and if you have the means to do it. You get to meet so many incredible creatives.
And getting that mental health support, isn't
mental
it?
health
From
support.
within a group.
The support, the
Socialising,
creative
yeah.
support. You're watching people week on week getting up and doing amazing improv and scene work, and that is inspiring for you. You learn so much from watching and from talking and being in this room and
Yeah.
this space where these conversations are happening. I think that's the main thing that you can take from it.
But also the polishing of your skills, something that you learnt back in the day that you maybe haven't been tested on for a while. Absolutely. That's a really, really great note to end on. The fact that we do just need to keep working, but not just keep putting work out, but keep working on ourselves and our skills. But that is about all we have time for today, sadly. It's just,
Wow.
it's flown. It's
Time
absolutely
has gone so quickly.
Yeah, it's gone
hasn't
so
it?
fast. Thank you so much, Helen. It's been such a pleasure to have you on.
It's been really enjoyable. Thank you for inviting me.
Your insights have been absolutely fantastic as well, as I knew they would be. Honestly, absolute pleasure to have you on. And thank you to everyone who has listened to this episode. If you want to be a guest on the Manchester Independent Theatre podcast, all you need to do is email mitpoddy@gmail.com. That's mitpoddy@gmail.com. You don't have to be a guest, as we always say. You can
share details
yeah.
about it via email. You can send us a voice note that we could play on the
Yeah.
podcast. And if you have an opportunity or a call out,
Yeah.
anything like that, or if you just want to share some thoughts that you've been having about the creative industry or your projects or anything like that, you know, just send them in and we can unpack that on the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. We're open to anything and everything. We are still learning, still developing what we want to do here. So
Yeah.
yeah, please just send us stuff in. But also you can follow us on Instagram at MIT_pod. And yeah, like and subscribe and get involved, listen to everything, give us your feedback. We love to hear from you. But other than that, I think that's all the closing up housekeeping. I just want to say thank you so much, Helen, for coming on. And
Thank you, Helen.
have a lovely rest of your day. And we will speak to you guys, our listeners, on the next episode coming very soon. Thanks so
See
much.
you next time, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. I always